targets within Iran. Trey Yingst has more from Tel Aviv.
President Trump returning from Florida, making new comments about the war in the Middle East. He spoke about the success of Operation Epic Fury so far. U.S. Central Command going after many targets overnight. The Israelis also continuing their airstrikes against the Iranian capital of Tehran. They are systematically taking out the military and command structure of the Iranian regime. Now, the president was asked overnight about Iran's new supreme leader. He said this.
I was disappointed because we think it's going to lead to just more of the same problem for the country. So I was disappointed to see their choice.
President Trump very clear on his views about Mojtaba Khamenei. The Israelis are looking north toward the Lebanese capital of Beirut, where they are striking new targets of the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah.
Democrats in Congress have held up DHS funding while demanding reforms to immigration enforcement, though they are supporting a measure that would fund elements of the agency besides ICE and Border Patrol. President Trump says what the Democrats are doing is unacceptable.
And even more outrageously, as we speak, Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security. They've got it shut down. Do you believe it? Right now. Because they care more about amnesty for illegal alien criminals. But Democrats must vote immediately to reopen the Department of Homeland Security so that we have the resources to keep America safe.
While Democrats in Congress continue to be paid, TSA workers are working without a paycheck. As the partial government shutdown drags on, air travelers are facing extremely long lines at TSA checkpoints. Some airports reporting 3 to 4 hour waits. Travel expert Colleen Kelly says it'll probably get worse.
171 million travelers going on right now for spring break. So it's going to be unprecedented. Add that TSA workers, there's not as many there, and this whole government shutdown. And it's going to be a very difficult March and April. Not to say that you can't travel, but you must have some tips in your back pocket in terms of traveling. For instance, I always tell people to get there 2 hours early for domestic flights. Not the case. As you can see from the lines there at the airport, this is unprecedented. The lines are just incredible. So 3 hours before a domestic flight, 4+ before an international flight.
A conservative columnist says it is becoming increasingly evident that Democrats are working hard to prevent President Trump from taking out evil dictators around the globe.
Robert Nunn is a columnist for the Washington Times. His latest column is entitled, "Kane's Mutiny is in line with Democrats' defeatism." In it, he points out how Democrats like Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia go out of their way to try to hinder President Trump's efforts to protect America from threats like Venezuela and Iran.
Virginia Democratic Senator Tim Kaine has been among the Democratic leaders condemning President Trump for the attacks on Iran and even on Venezuela. So in a couple master strokes, President Trump has stopped a big threat in South America and is hurting Russia and China by decapitating the dictatorship in Iran. That's pretty good work for a month's time.
Knight says Democrats reflexively take the side against America.
Trump takes out a regime that has said death to America, and so Democratic leaders condemn him and say, oh, you should have gotten our permission first. Why? Presidents have found out that there are Democrats in Congress who will sell out this country and leak intelligence information. And President Trump wasn't willing to risk that, and I'm glad he didn't.
I'm Chad Groening.
2 men who openly support the terrorist group ISIS have been indicted on terrorism charges in connection to the attempted bombing at Gracie Mansion in New York over the weekend. Ryan Morrow is president of the Morrow Institute and is a foreign threats expert.
Well, I think that what you're seeing is another episode of what I've called the Jihad Olympics, where you have groups like ISIS that get very frustrated at not getting any oxygen or attention because everything has been focused on Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iranian regime especially, which are their rivals. And so there is going to be the pressure on ISIS supporters to carry out an attack.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
The so-called legacy media, instead of just trying to give us the facts of a story, are trying to lead people to a conclusion that reflects a very secular, liberal worldview.
News director Fred Jackson.
I think the world right now needs to see what is going on in our world from a biblical perspective.
American Family News at the top of each hour on American Family Radio and also at afn.net.
I think there's no question we are making a difference.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR. As the announcer told you, I'm Tim Wildman. In studio with me is Fred Jackson. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning to you, Tim.
Wesley Wildman.
Good morning.
And in Florida is Ray Pritchard. Good morning, Ray.
Hey, Tim. How you doing today?
I'm doing excelente. And so far,
okay.
It's 10 o'clock Central Time. So, I don't know what the next 12 hours holds, but so how are you doing, Ray? How's everything going?
It's beautiful. It's 79 degrees and sunny here in Florida.
So you have a sunny disposition, do you?
Yeah, Well, I think spring in Florida is a pretty good time of the year.
Right.
Summer down here can be pretty brutal.
Right.
With the heat and all that other stuff. But today's good. We're good.
Give us a good word from the Bible, if you would.
All right. So I have been working in the book of Philippians because next week here at the Word of Life Florida, I'm giving 7 messages from the book of Philippians around the general theme, joyful living in a grumpy world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm early on here in this prayer of the Apostle Paul in verses 9, 10, 11. And let me just ask you guys, and just theoretically, Wesley, Tim, Fred, just theoretically, don't have to answer back, but what grade would you give yourself for your prayer life? You don't have to answer.
Okay.
Would you give yourself an A?
You mean out loud?
I mean, don't give me one out loud.
But, that's it.
But Wesley, would you give yourself A, B, C, D, F, or I need some help? I think most of us Christians would go, I need some help, because we all know we need to pray, we want to pray, and we feel whenever a preacher gets up to talk about prayer, the big problem is people already feel so guilty anyway. We feel like we don't pray as much as we ought to pray, or we don't know what to say. So let me just read Paul's prayer from Philippians 1, because I've been noodling around with it this morning before the broadcast. And Paul says, this is my prayer, that your love may abound more and more. Cool. We all need more love. In knowledge and depth of insight. It's really interesting. Paul joins love with knowledge and depth of insight, because love is great, right? Faith, hope, and love. Love is the highest virtue, but love alone is never enough. Because if you just follow love down the path, and it's not guided by knowledge and insight from the Lord, you'll just get into one bad relationship after another. We make one bad decision after another. We need love, abounding love, but it's got to be guided by knowledge and insight. And then Paul says in verse 10, so that you may be able to discern, and some translations say discriminate. And I know in our day, discrimination is usually a negative term, but in the spiritual life, we are desperately in need of good discrimination. And Paul says to discern what is best. Just think of it this way, guys. There's the bad from the good, that we can know the bad from the good, that we could know the better from the good, and that we could know the best from the better. So here's a great prayer to pray. And this is a prayer to pray for your kids and for your grandkids. Pray for your friends. Lord, give my friends, give my kids, give my grandkids the ability to make wise decisions under pressure. Because, as we all know, if you have 3 days, you can usually figure it out. But that's not how life comes to us. So we ought to pray for ourselves and our loved ones that we might be able to discern what is best in the eyes of God. And here's the end of the prayer. Because when you do, you'll end up pure and blameless. You'll be a sunlight Christian, nothing hidden because there's nothing to hide. You'll be filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ to the glory and praise of God. So you will live a blameless life, a fruitful life, and what I'm going to call a theodoxic life. Theo meaning God, theos, God, doxic like doxology, a life lived to the glory and praise of God. So, to all of our radio listeners out there, if you don't know how to pray or what to pray, go to Philippians 1. Pray this prayer. One writer a century and a half ago called this prayer the life of God in the soul of man. If you don't know what to pray, pray that love might be guided by knowledge and discernment so that we might be able to know the good from the bad, the better from the good, and the best from the better. Oh God, help us. Help us to live like that. Help us to pray like that so our lives may be blameless, fruitful, and lived for the glory of God.
Amen.
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 There's a lot of very, very clear and practical teachings in the New Testament that are very helpful. I know that if you're really close to the Bible verse that I use often with with the team that I coach, and it says in Philippians chapter 2, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but rather in humility consider others more important than yourself, not looking to your own interests, but to the interests of others. And so just reminding us where we stand in light of being a good example to others by putting others first as well. And that's just one chapter over. So yeah, reading the Bible. And do you have any idea off the top of your head how many prayers are in the Bible, written prayers? I'd have to look that up, but that's...
Well, okay, are we going to count the Psalms?
Yes.
Because the Psalms are prayers, right?
That's right.
You got 150 of them right there. Then you got prayers of Moses, prayers of, prayer of Nehemiah, you got prayer of Daniel. And you got
Jabez?
Yeah, the prayer of Jabez. And you got these prayers of Paul in the New Testament. And folks, if you want to do a fun Bible study, just read the prayers of Paul recorded in his epistles. It'll jumpstart your prayer life.
Amen.
Amen. Speaking of prayers,
Yes.
we've got one that was ushered yesterday by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. It was yesterday or this morning, Fred?
Actually, this morning.
This morning.
Our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, has been giving morning briefings, and he gave the latest. He says today is going to be the most intense day, day 10, the intense day of the battle so far. He gave that briefing, but towards the end of his formal presentation, before he took questions from reporters, Pete Hegseth, our Secretary of War, said, I want to read from Scripture for you. Wow, I was just blown away by this. And he read from Psalm 144, cut number 2.
I'll close with Scripture, drawing strength from Psalm 144. Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. He is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield, in whom I take refuge. May the Lord grant unyielding strength and refuge to our warriors, unbreakable protection to them and our homeland, and total victory over those who seek to harm them. And amen.
I was just blown away by that. I cannot remember a Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, at a formal briefing like this in the midst of battle, stopping to read Scripture and to give a prayer. He has these
In the right context,
liberal
too.
left-wing reporters in front of him.
Yeah.
He knows millions of people are watching him. But what a testimony this morning from our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth.
Amen. Absolutely. And I think the scripture he quoted and the prayer he gave were perfect.
Yes.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
You know, we are about to enter, by we, I mean the United States and Israel, the most of the military targets have been hit in Iran, from what I understand. Now, Pete Hegseth said that the Iranians are now moving their mobile missile launchers to hospitals and to schools and to places where the United States and Israel cannot reach without the risk of
a lot of casualties.
And turning the Iranian people against them,
right,
rather than still be for them. From what I can gather, the majority of the Iranian people that are not in with the regime, okay, just the average citizens out there, they are actually in favor of what's going on here.
Yeah, they were about a month ago.
Yes, they were, and because of the brutality that the regime has executed on the general population. I mean, we're talking 20, 30,000 people that were killed by the.
That was just recently.
The henchmen of
Not to mention the history.
That's right. That's right. So, but what I'm saying is, it's going to get more difficult now. The decisions that will have to be made. Seems to me. I'm not a military expert, but it seems like to me there's a risk for civilian deaths it's about to go up if the Americans, Israelis are going to continue to bomb.
Yeah, and maybe the IDF has plans to do some type of special op missions that will help on that front as well.
Is Frank on yet? Frank Turek will be with us at the bottom of the hour. Also, did you guys see this military strike by Israel in Beirut yesterday? Okay, so let me remind folks, Israel is also at war with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. They've been around forever. They operate out of Lebanon, Lebanon being on the northern border of Israel. Now, most of the time it's quiet, but then the but then Hezbollah starts firing a few rockets here and there, and so on and so forth and so on. The Israelis have to sometimes go into Lebanon territory to fight Hezbollah to keep them off the northern border. But the Iranians, this is where I read the story. Some of the Iranian leaders were meeting in Beirut, and they were gathered in a hotel room, and the Israelis found out about it. They found out about everything, don't they? I mean, the eyes and ears of the Mossad and the IDF are just incredible. So they sent some kind of a weapon right into the hotel room window. Didn't destroy the hotel. Didn't bring down the hotel. Didn't set the hotel on fire. Look it up. Just Israelis fire into hotel room in Beirut, and it went into the window. It was what I'm saying, Ray, is that these people,
it's like they're on. So let's say on the 14th floor, they're in room 1423. It didn't hit 1422.
That's right.
It didn't hit 1424. It hit the exact room where the bad guys were.
Yeah, it went right in the window. It was remarkable, the precision in which they.
I see the story.
Do you see the story?
Look for an image.
You're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Wesley, Fred, and Ray. What are you going to say?
I didn't get to listen yesterday. Have y'all made a prediction about how long you think this will last?
What have you heard, Fred? What has President Trump or Pete Hegseth said about how long we're going to be over there?
Well, the next level of targeting, according to the Secretary of War, is going after the facilities in Iran that manufacture the missiles. They feel they've done a pretty good job, both Israel and the United States, of going after missile launching sites. You know, the sites that are on the back of the trucks, et cetera, et cetera. We've all seen
mobile missile launchers?
Mobile missile launchers. Now they're going to go after the places where the Iranians used to make these missiles and to make these drones. The aim is, and this was kind of interesting, that when this campaign is over, Iran will not be a threat to the rest of the world for years.
Right. Right.
That is the aim.
Short of having a regime change, which who knows whether that's going to happen or not, just to demilitarize. Did you say it right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but you had it better than I did.
That's right. That's what I didn't want to say that either.
Demilitarize. There we go. I got it out.
Yeah.
Demilitarize.
That's a hard word to say.
It is, isn't it? Demilitarize the country of Iran. That is so that they're not a threat to anybody because they don't have any weapons. That would be the goal. Now, again, the ideal situation would be for the Ayatollah and the mullahs to be replaced by
anything else.
somebody who's peaceful and who wants free elections and wants a normal life for the people of the country, Ray. That would be the best case scenario. But who knows whether that's going to happen or not.
Did you guys see President Trump's press conference yesterday when he was taking questions on this very point? And Mr. Trump, when he is on his game, he is amazing to watch him do his thing. And he had, the Washington Post people there and liberals and conservatives. And as a pure side note, Joe Biden could not have faced the press the way Donald Trump did. Took questions from all comers, and he said, we could end it right now. If I wanted to, we could end it. It's going to be over real soon. He kept saying that.
He did say that?
Well, yes, but Fred, he didn't give a date. He didn't give a time.
No. As you say, he was asked, we can play a little bit of what Ray is talking about here. Cut number 3.
On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very soon. Look, everything they have is gone, including their leadership. In fact, there are 2 levels of leadership, and even actually, as it turns out, more than that. But 2 levels of leadership are gone. Most people have never even heard about the leaders that they're talking about. So it's obviously been very, very powerful, very effective.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they have to deal with the leadership at some point. Now they told us initially this is not about regime change. What they're hoping for is that they can get the military campaign to the point where there is no point for these Islamic leaders to hang on because they've got nothing to lead. And that somebody is going to come up from the ranks of their citizens. There's 90 million people in that country that will come up through those ranks that will have the support of Israel and the United States. I think that is the hope.
And if I could, this is just my personal, we all vote, a lot of it, we voted for President Trump and he won. And so as a voter constituent, I would say that I would think maybe 2 months at the longest, because you like to be be even quicker. But if the more you hear about what all is they're trying to accomplish from a missional standpoint, then you also have to set your expectations around that as well. In addition to just wanting, not to be caught up over there for years and years and all that. We've talked about the worst case scenario that's happened in years past. So I don't think that's going to happen, but at the same time, I do think it's going to be longer than some of us, MAGA or people like myself, want it to be. But at the same time, you set your parameters around the mission too.
All right. Well, we will see anything more on what's going on there in the war effort.
Well, we did talk yesterday on the program about the impact on the price of oil. Well, I guess the markets were really nervous yesterday, and they calmed down overnight. Mm-hmm. We had prices.
I calmed them down.
You calmed them down?
I calmed them down.
Okay.
They were getting out of control.
Hey, we need you in important places.
I do my part.
Yeah. But yesterday we were talking about $110 a barrel, 120 in some places. This morning on the Brent crude level, down below $90. Yeah. So things are calming down.
So no $5 gasoline.
No.
$5 gallon gasoline, right?
It may take a few days. We know how this works.
To get to $5 or to bring it back down?
Bring it back down. We know how gas prices go up real fast.
Yeah.
A little bit slow coming down.
Yeah.
So
what about that, Ray? You heard anything about that Strait of is it called Strait or Straits of Hormuz, which is borders Iran, that people were worried about all the merchant ships and all the oil ships that come through there, 20% of America. Go ahead.
No, it's very interesting. Again, back to Mr. Trump yesterday. He made some comment. I'm thinking about taking over the Straits of Hormuz. He just kind of said it. He's amazing. Just throw it. I'm thinking about doing that, right? And then there's that island. Is it called Karg Island?
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of Iran, right?
Yeah, about 15 miles off.
Okay. Yeah. And he said, I'm thinking about maybe we should take that island as well. So We've just never had a president.
Okay, so we didn't get Greenland. We're going to settle for
right, the Straits of Hormuz,
a small island,
and the island.
Yeah, actually, the Energy Secretary this morning said that already an American destroyer has escorted a tanker through the Straits of Hormuz. So that operation is
the worry is people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand. We're talking about a part of the sea there. What's the sea? Is that the Arabian or is that the
from the Arabian Sea into the Persian Gulf?
That's where this strait of it's called a strait because it's like 20 miles across from Iran to whatever that country is. So ships that come through there would be very vulnerable to weapons being fired from Iran to blow them up out in that strait. They have to go through there.
It's a choke point.
Okay, a choke point. So that's the worry. But now you're saying, Fred, that the American military, the Navy, our Navy, is escorting
at least one,
an American merchant ship or somebody else, or we don't know.
A tanker. That's all that was identified.
Okay. Yeah. A merchant ship, an oil tanker. There's all kind of ships. I saw a graphic of that. It's just amazing how many ships go through there. Mm-hmm. From.
Is this where y'all talking about? I'm looking at the map right there.
Yeah, that's right. I guess it's Saudi Arabia and Iran.
Yeah,
that border between
where
that strait goes by, but it's very, very narrow. So it's the ships that go through there are very vulnerable to Iranian fire. Mm-hmm. But that's not happening now because the Americans are there to sort of police that area.
They had to basically underwrite the insurance companies that insure these ships because the insurance companies were pulling the policies.
You're serious? I thought you were. Okay, so wow.
No. The insurance companies were saying to the owners of these tankers, we're going to pull our insurance if you guys go through the Strait of Hormuz. And so what President Trump has said, we'll underwrite you basically if you keep sending your ships through the strait.
Hey, China's been kind of quiet in all this, haven't they, Ray? Have you, Fred?
Well, interesting you should say that because President Trump said, by doing this, by protecting those tankers, we're helping our friends in China.
Okay,
because China gets a lot of their oil
from that
area.
That area.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, let's take a break right here, and we'll come back. Our good friend Dr. Frank Turek will be with us after the break. Frank's always got something interesting, exciting, informative to share. I'm sure he will this time. And then Wesley's got an announcement too. So that's coming up right after this short timeout. You're listening to the radio program Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
A visitor to Israel today will see a very familiar emblem wherever he travels in that country. It's a picture of two men with a cluster of grapes hanging from a pole, resting on their shoulders. Several visitors failed to catch the significance of that emblem. The two men in the picture represent Joshua and Caleb, two of the outstanding persons in the Old Testament. Back when the Hebrews were leaving their captivity in Egypt, they made their way to the southern border of what later was to become Palestine. Wondering if they should proceed into the Promised Land or not, Moses and the other leaders sent 12 men into the country as spies to survey the situation. The account says they found the land to be very fertile and brought back the cluster of grapes as proof. When the 12 had returned from their travels in the country, they were called together and questioned by the leaders. The leaders wanted to know what chance they had in a battle against those who possessed the land. If the Hebrews were strong enough, they would proceed to do battle, but if not, then they would have to wait. Of the 12, 10 brought very negative reports. The people who dwell in the land are many, and they are big and strong, came the report. We look like grasshoppers compared to them. When the people heard this report, they began to complain. A negative report usually gets negative results. We wish we had died in Egypt, they said, or even in the wilderness, rather than to come to this country. However, 2 of the 12 brought in a minority report, and minority reports are often more realistic than that of the majority. Let us go up at once and possess the land, said Caleb, for we're well able to conquer it. Joshua agreed with Caleb and pleaded with the people not to be afraid, but the leaders decided to wait. Well, history proved that Caleb and Joshua were right in their assumption, and today they are remembered for their daring faith and positive thinking everywhere in Israel. It's important what a person thinks of himself, extremely important, for it's highly unlikely that a person can accomplish something he doesn't think he can. But if a person has a healthy self-respect for himself, his chances of success are much improved. It's very doubtful that other people will think more highly of you than the opinion you hold of yourself. Positive confidence and faith in oneself is a very fruitful and practical trait. Now, I don't mean to imply that a person needs cocky egotism. That's not self-confidence at all. It's a serious form of false pride. But what I am saying is that we can do many things which we otherwise would be unable to do if we believe we can. All things are possible to him who believes, said the carpenter from Galilee. So think highly of yourself, and always remember that God thinks highly of you also. Oh, incidentally, when the Hebrews finally did enter the Promised Land, do you know who it was that led them? None other than Joshua, and he was probably assisted by Caleb.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
For we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God and an eternal house in heaven, not built by human hands. 2 Corinthians 5, verse 1.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Wesley, Fred, and now Dr. Frank Turek joins us from North Carolina. Good morning, Frank.
How is everyone?
Well, I thought you were traveling. You traveling this week or no?
I am. I'm going to be at Christopher Newport University up in Newport News, Virginia tomorrow night, 7 p.m. All the details on our website, crossexamine.org.
What's the school and what town is it in?
That's in Newport News, up in near Virginia Beach. You know, Newport News area.
Yeah, I know where that is. Yeah.
Christopher Newport is Christopher Newport was a patriot who helped the Pilgrims way back in the 1600s. And so there's a university named after him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, wonderful. Well, so Frank, you had on a guest, William Federer, who's a friend of ours as well, on your show last week. I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. This is the name of Frank's show that airs on the American Family Radio Network on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock Central Time. And the topic was the history of, I guess, Iran. Right?
That's right. Yeah. History of Iran, Persia, Elam in the Bible, sometimes called Media in the Bible. Yep.
All right. Tell us what we need to know about that. Give us a.
Oh, wow.
Give us 5 minutes on that.
3 bullet points.
Yeah. That most Americans don't know.
Well, in the Bible, this area we call now Iran was called Persia. Sometimes it was called Elam. Sometimes it's called Media. Cyrus the Great came from Persia. Esther, the whole story of Esther takes place in Persia. Abraham fights somebody from Persia early on in biblical history. And when you get into the modern age, you learn that in, say, the 20th century, that Iran itself was a constitutional monarchy. And the word Shah just means king. There were several Shahs in the 20th century, one of whom was the Shah that was deposed by Ayatollah Khomeini in 1979. And those of us who are old enough remember this, because when that occurred in February of 1979, not long after that, our embassy was raided and a number of American hostages were taken, embassy workers, and they were held for 444 days until January 20th, 1981, when President Ronald Reagan was sworn in. Iran decided they could deal with Carter, but they probably couldn't deal with Reagan. And so they let those hostages go, and they came back to the United States. Those of you also who are old enough remember that President Carter tried to rescue them, and it was a botched mission where some aircraft collided in the desert, and they had to abort the whole mission. So the ironic thing about all this is that the president that really gave the green light to the Ayatollah was Jimmy Carter. And we haven't even discussed that on the program yet. Bill Federer and I actually recorded 2 programs last week. The first one aired on the American Family Radio Network this weekend. The second one is going to come out on our podcast today, this afternoon. And it's part 2, where we're going to get into the 20th century. So if they look for the I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist podcast, they can see that. What happened with Jimmy Carter, and why did he greenlight the Ayatollah to come back? Why did he tell the Shah to leave and all this? It was really Jimmy Carter that gave us or green-lighted the Ayatollah and allowed him to take over.
Okay.
And we all saw how that worked out.
All right, let me ask you this question, because I have brought this topic up many times over the years. That is the Iranian hatred for Israel. And not all the Iranian people. I'm talking about the regime, the mullahs, the Ayatollah Khomeini. Okay, so, and I've mentioned this before. In world history, wars have been fought mainly over land, okay? Secondly, they've been fought over maybe ethnicity or tribal hatred or disagreements. And
oil.
And oil. Mm-hmm. But land probably number one, and with, again, tribal rivalries having to do basically with land. But when you talk about Iran and Israel, you're talking about countries that are not border countries and that are separated by maybe 1,200 miles, something like that. There's 2 countries between Iran and Israel. There's Iraq, there's Jordan, there's Syria over there. So why the obsession by the Ayatollah Khomeini and the mullahs and the religious leaders in Iran for Israel, for little Israel over there? So, on the shores of the Mediterranean, 1,200 miles away, and of course there's great hatred for the great Satan too. The little Satan's Israel, the great Satan's. Maybe I've answered my own question here. Maybe it's just straight up religion, the religious ideology, the reason for it. But explain to me why the Ayatollah Khomeini and the mullahs get up every morning going, we need to take out the Zionists and the Jews, and we need to kill the Americans. Somebody send me some coffee down my way. Why is that their attitude?
I think you did answer your own question, because they're Shia Muslims, which is a minority sect of Islam. And they come from the line of Ali, and all that's explained on the podcast. The Sunnis are about 85% of Muslims. The Shia are about 15%, and Iran is Shia. They also support, as you know, Hamas. They support all the H's: Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen. Much of the money that those organizations get come from Iran. And thanks to President Obama, who dropped, I don't know how many millions in cash to them when he was president.
I forgot about that.
Oh, he sent the plane with unmarked bill.
Yeah.
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 But why do they just hate them because they're Jews? And I mean, why?
Well, as you know, in the Quran and mostly even more in the Hadith and the biography of Muhammad, Muhammad said, "Kill any Jew that comes under your power." That was in the biography of Muhammad. They believe in jihad. You know, Islam means submission. That's what the word means, and they believe that the entire world must be submitted to Islam. That includes Sharia law. And Sharia law is something that I guess a lot of people here in America don't seem to understand, because if you look at what Sharia law is, there's no freedoms. There's no religious freedom. Women can't even walk the streets alone. They have to be covered up. And if they're not, they can be, tragically, they can't even be accosted and raped. You can't convert to Christianity. That's a death penalty. You can't proselytize. You don't have the freedom you have here in America, in Iran, because of Sharia law. And it amazes to me that there are people here on the left that align with them, at least from some sort of justice cause, when they don't realize that if the Iranian viewpoint took over, the jihadist viewpoint took over, the first people that would be executed would be the liberals. I mean, gays for Gaza, as Benjamin Netanyahu said, is kind of like chickens for KFC. It makes absolutely zero sense logically that you would align yourself with a group that wants to execute you. But that's what goes on. And here in America, we don't seem to understand that when people say they want to kill you, they mean it. We go, "Oh no, you can't. You can't think that. That's just not right." That's the way some of these folks think. And it's been proven for 1,400 years. So people just need to wake up.
Yeah, Fred.
Frank, it's Fred here. We're starting to see, even here in the United States, groups of Muslims kneeling down in public streets and praying. Now, some people may say, well, that's just innocent. But there's more to it that goes to, we're marking this land for us. Your thoughts on that?
I think it is a call to dominance. They want to submit New York City, Dearborn, Michigan, anywhere they can to Islam, to Sharia law. They state this openly. And why do they have calls for prayer in Dearborn? Why did they have calls for prayer in Times Square? Right? You don't need a loudspeaker to tell you when to pray in the age of the cell phone. Right?
Yes.
I mean, you could just sign up for an alert on your cell phone. You don't need to tell the whole neighborhood you're doing it. Oh, we're going to tell the whole neighborhood we're doing it because we're going to one day own this neighborhood.
So Governor Abbott in Texas is right to be fighting this proposed epic, I think it's called, the city that they want to set up there near Dallas?
Well, yes, and he's fighting it, I think, I don't know all the details of this, but I think he's fighting it on civil rights grounds because they want to exclude people who are not Muslims from the community.
You mean build an all?
Yeah.
Build
as I understand it.
An all Muslim city, an enclave, if you will.
Yeah.
And they sort of a no-go zone, if you will. So they're supposed to operate. Well, that ain't working out very well in Great Britain right now, or Paris, or other parts of Europe.
No, it's not. And we Christians have to wake up. But
let me just say this too about this whole situation, just to boil it down here, because you're right. Most Americans, Ray, I'll let you comment after this. We want to be fair-minded. We believe in freedom. We believe in liberty. We believe in let people have their own religious beliefs and practices. I mean, that's what America's history has been. But Islam, if you look where Islam is dominant, and this is not, I'm not saying anything disparaging about Islam. I'm just telling the truth. I'm just telling a fact. If you look at Sharia, and you look at places where Muslims are the dominant religion, then they cut off freedom for other religions. They impose laws, even in Saudi Arabia, which many Americans travel to, or Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates. I think that's which have some semblance of westernization. Still, They have the imposition of Sharia law. They are not going to allow. Remember when our soldiers were after 9/11 were over there in Saudi Arabia, and they told them, you can't celebrate Christmas over here now. You understand that, right? So anyway, Ray, anywhere you go in the world, the point is when people are saying, well, you people are just anti-Muslim. You're Islamophobic here. You just don't want these people to have their own town and their own culture in America. You just hate Muslims, don't you? And you're going, well, wait a minute. No, if you look at where they dominate around the world, they impose their religious beliefs on the rest of society. Go ahead.
You know, Tim, the old saying, when people tell you who they are,
right,
believe them. Okay. It's not just in Saudi Arabia. It's not just in the UAE, Abu Dhabi, places like that, or Iran. Look what's happened in Germany. Look what's happened in the Netherlands. Look what's happened in France. Look what's happened in England as they have allowed almost unlimited Muslim immigration into those countries. It's a pretty simple fact that what's this fellow's name? Starmer? Is he the?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Basically, he didn't want. He wanted to stay. He wanted to stay out of this fight between the U.S., Israel, and Iran because he's afraid of antagonizing the Muslim immigrant population in England. You know, Frank, I want to ask you a question about the situation inside Iran today. Two questions. Number one, these people are so bad. They're so evil. The government has been so bloodthirsty. Two questions. Question one, how have they managed to stay in power for all these years? And number two, given the bloodthirsty nature and the crazed ideology, how will there ever be, however could there be, regime change in Iran?
Well, you only need a small group of people to keep the rest of the people in terror to not say or do anything.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happened in Iran. I mean, Stalin did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
He had a group of henchmen that just kept that dictatorship going. Iran, though, is a little bit different than Iraq. Iran was westernized under the Shah. Under the Shah, women could vote, women could wear Western clothes, women could go to college. They were even making Cadillacs in Iran when the Shah was over there. So it was a westernized country. They have a better infrastructure than Iraq. You know, Persia goes back millennia. Iraq was created essentially by Winston Churchill after World War I, as well as what was known then as Transjordan. Those countries were drawn by Winston Churchill after World War I, and they were more tribal than Persia was. So there is a possibility that Persia/Iran could go back to a constitutional monarchy because they have a history of it. What the Shah or the new person would have to do would have to ensure that the radical Muslims didn't execute him. That's why the Shah, by the way, had secret police, because he was always concerned he would be executed by the more radical Muslims within his country. That's always the problem. In fact, the Muslim Brotherhood, which came into existence in 1928, after it looked like Islam was going to modernize, tried to reverse all that by making assassin squads to take out leaders who would not toe the fundamentalist line. And this is what Bill Federer unpacks in our podcast, which people can see on our YouTube channel, the Cross Examine YouTube channel, if they want, wherever they get podcasts, or at the American Family Radio Network. But the new one that comes out today will just be on the I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist podcast. So Iran has a different history than Iraq, and so there is hope that they could get at least a less oppressive regime than they currently have.
All right, Dr. Frank Turek has been with us. Frank, so tomorrow night, for those, we have a lot of listeners in the Richmond area. That's why I
not
asked
far
you.
from Richmond. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you? An hour and a half or 2 hours?
Probably. Yeah.
Something like that. What's the school?
It's Christopher Newport University. It's on our website, crossexamine.org. And then a couple of weeks after that, we're going to be out at Colorado Mesa University, and then we're going back to the university where Charlie was murdered. That's Utah Valley University on the 26th of March. I don't know how I'm going to react to being there again, but we can't let Satan win. We have to plant a flag there. And as you know, that's heavily Mormon up in that area. Mormons, as you know, don't completely comprehend grace. So we're going to be talking a lot about if God, why evil, and grace that night.
Yeah. All right, Frank, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
God bless you guys.
Okay,
Thanks.
that's Dr. Frank Turek. Wesley, you got an announcement?
I do.
Like a church bulletin announcement here where everybody pays attention?
That's exactly what it is.
All right, listen up, people. Go ahead.
Pay attention. Get your pen out, notes out. All right, so April 7th and 9th, we have our share-a-thon, our spring share-a-thon, April 7th and 9th. And what we like to do...
7th through the 9th.
7th through the 9th. And what I'd like to do, or what we like to do here at AFR, is hear from you about how AFR has impacted you, how God's used AFR in your life. And each, about a month before our share-a-thon, it gives us plenty of time to get your testimony. So you can call in and leave a listener story testimony at 877-876-8893. The phone number again is 877-876-8893. And we like to ask that you keep it to about 1 minute, 2 at the max, but between 1 or 2 minutes. We would love to hear from you. And many of y'all know y'all get to hear these testimonies during our share-a-thon and leading up to it, pre-share-a-thon, and they're just they really do reset your perspective on what we're able to accomplish through the radio network because of your giving. I mean, I don't know how much more clear to say it than that.
Yes, that's right. So to reiterate what Wesley's saying, we're looking for you. If you are a listener and you've been impacted by American Family Radio, we want to play your testimony during our share-a-thon coming up in about a month. A listener testimony. So you say, okay, my name is Sam from Lexington, Kentucky, and then you say what AFR has done in your life.
And the more specific, the better. I mean, if there's if there was one radio program on Saturday at midnight or whatever it was, just let us know. Call in at 877.
Yeah, here, Wesley, go ahead and give the phone number. This is the phone number you call and leave the recording. Go ahead.
877-876-8893.
877-876-8893. Ray, you got an email the other day, didn't you, from a listener?
Well, you know, Tim, last Thursday, I gave my email address out and said, people could write me. And so I got 4 or 5 very interesting emails, people with questions about the issues of life. And none of it was, quote, political. It was just things they were dealing with. And I thank the listeners for their emails. But one of them, and this one, Tim, was not signed, so I don't know exactly who sent it in, but a nice note saying that AFR, you were talking about AFR. You were the angels that led me to Jesus.
Wow!
One of the clearest statements of how listening to AFR, our broadcast, everything, showed them their need for Christ and led them to living, saving faith in Jesus Christ. I thought it was. I sent it along to you, Tim, because I thought it was so moving.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. Maybe I'll bring it on Thursday and read it when you're here. Of course, there's no name attached to it, so we don't read emails on here unless somebody gives us permission. If we do so, we do so and leave it anonymous. So maybe I'll bring that in on Thursday. Fred, we got this story about the Iranian girls soccer team. Tell us about it.
Yeah, the Iranian girls soccer team, they've been involved with a tournament in Australia. And during one of the ceremonies down there before the game, like other countries, they sing the national anthem. And so initially these Iranian girls refused to sing the national anthem, drew a lot of attention.
Of their own country.
Of their own country. And some of them were signaling what they say was an SOS sign. In other words, save us from that regime.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what's happened in the last day, 24 hours or so. The Australian government, first actually President Trump got in contact with the Australian Prime Minister and said, Australia, if you don't grant these girls asylum, because they're scared to death, literally, we will take them here in the United States. Well, Australia now has responded. and they are giving asylum to 5 of these girls. Now, they offered it to all the girls on the team.
You know how many there are? Maybe 12, 15?
21.
Oh, 21?
21,
Okay.
yes.
So 21 girls, 5 said, we'll take the asylum.
We'll take the asylum. Now, the feeling is that the other girls didn't want to necessarily go home, but they were scared if they don't go home. And their bus left this morning from Australia to go to the airport. They were afraid if they didn't go home, the regime there would kill their family members. So here's a little bit from the announcement from Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese this morning on this situation. Cut number 7.
Australians have been moved by the plight of these brave women. They're safe here and they should feel at home here. We're willing to provide assistance to other women in the team, noting that this is a very delicate situation and it is up to them. But we say to them, if you want our help, help is here, and we will provide that.
There was a very moving video this morning of the bus carrying these girls. Bus headed out to the airport, and there were pro-Iranian free people who live in Australia getting in front of the bus, trying to stop it, pleading to those girls on the buses, don't go home, don't go home. And some of the girls apparently were again giving the SOS sign.
You know what age these girls were? Ages?
Maybe late teens, early 20s, in that range.
Very, very scary situation then, because they're thinking they probably, they're between they're between teenage years and adulthood, and they're wondering, if I go home, what'll become of me then, because I didn't maybe salute, sing the national anthem on the when all the cameras were on me. In other words, I wasn't supportive of the regime.
Yes.
But they're going back to Iran. But 5 of them said, no, we're going to stay in Australia.
Going to stay here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, did you see this, Ray?
Yeah, and I was just thinking about our discussion that we just had. This is a regime that very well might do what those soccer players fear, that if they stay in Australia, their family would be arrested and perhaps even be put to death. First of all, kudos to all of them who did not want to sing the national anthem of their own country. It just shows what a desperate situation it is over there. And, Fred, can you imagine? Mm-hmm. You want to stay in freedom, but your family's hanging in the balance. What do you do?
What a demonstration of what life is like there.
Yeah.
For fear of your life all the time. Now, the girls in subsequent games did sing their Iranian national anthem, but we are told they got word from the regime back in Tehran, you better start singing.
Yeah.
The threat, living under that threat all the time.
The good news is we know that the feminists, the American lefties, who will champion the cause of these young girls. Don't you think so, Wesley? We'll hear from Ellen DeGeneres and Rosie O'Donnell and all the Nancy Pelosi and all of them.
If I had not been around the block a few times, logically I would say probably so, but I know better. That's not going to happen. Hey, so the 5 got asylum
in
for
Australia,
for the country of Australia, and Trump said he would
take them if Australia didn't.
Yeah.
And asylum was offered to all 21
of them. Yeah,
21 of them, but
the
5,
threat of their families back home too. I mean, it's a bad situation.
All right, we're going to take a short time out right here. Yes, speaking of prayer, say a prayer for these women, these young ladies. They're teenagers, most of them, and they're faced with this decision that will affect their lives forever.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back momentarily. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
They will thrust a cell phone in your face if you ask a question. They'll surround you with cameras. They'll scream at you. They'll try to get you to commit violence. I believe God is giving us a little bit of a glimpse into what life without Him would be like.
A Disciple's View with Todd Herman. Critical information from a faith-enriching perspective. Weekdays at noon Central on AFR. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh. We got another Pentagon briefing today on Operation Epic Fury. War Secretary Pete Hegseth says the objectives haven't changed.
On day 10 of Operation Epic Fury, we are winning with an overwhelming and unrelenting focus on our objectives, which are the same as the day I gave my first briefing here on Operation Epic Fury. They're straightforward, and we are executing them with ruthless precision. 1, destroy their missile stockpiles, their missile launchers, and their defense industrial base, missiles and their ability to make them. 2, destroy their Navy. And 3, permanently deny Iran nuclear weapons forever.
The Secretary closed his remarks by offering his inspiration.
I'll close with scripture, drawing strength from Psalm 144. Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. He is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield, in whom I take refuge. May the Lord grant unyielding strength and refuge to our warriors, unbreakable protection to them and our homeland, and total victory over those who seek to harm them. And amen.
Australia grants asylum to 5 members of Iran's women's national soccer team following a recent tournament. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the offer of asylum was given to all members of the team.
Australians have been moved by the plight of these brave women. They're safe here and they should feel at home here. We're willing to provide assistance to other women in the team, noting that this is a very delicate situation and it is up to them. But we say to them, if you want our help, help is here, and we will provide that.
The partial government shutdown is dragging on as workers go without pay and lines at airport TSA checkpoints get longer every day. Senate Leader John Thune talked about this a few minutes ago.
You have now agencies of government with employees who aren't going to get paid that perform important national security functions. Cybersecurity. You think that's not a problem in a dangerous world? Border Patrol, Customs and Border Protection, Border Patrol, they're not getting paid. TSA, people are starting to travel. They're hitting the airport and the lines are getting longer and longer and longer. Coast Guard, FEMA, the agency that responds to disasters around this country and has virtually run out of money, is also part of the bill that the Democrats are holding up.
There's a lot of work to do for the pro-life movement. As Chris Woodward explains, Indiana is no different.
This June marks 4 years since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Mike Victor of Indiana Right to Life said Roe needs to go, but that doesn't mean pro-lifers should stay at home and take it easy.
What we are seeing is just the relentlessness of the abortion industry and keep pushing and pushing and pushing to expand abortion.
Currently, Indiana's Attorney General is appealing a Marion County judge's ruling that blocked Indiana's near-total ban for abortion for certain Hoosiers that argue their religious freedom requires access to abortion.
A judge who has ruled that there is a right to an abortion as a religious right in our state, and as a result of that, she has blocked Indiana's pro-life law that has ended 98% of abortions in our state. She's blocked that law from being enforced against the plaintiffs in this case only. But the concern is that this will go well beyond the individual plaintiffs. What's at stake here is a judge stating that it actually is a religious right to abort an unborn child.
I'm Chris Woodward.
For American Family News, I'm Rusty Pugh.
AFA Action takes attacks on the family seriously. The enemies of the family constantly employ new tactics to try to sneak past our radar. They know if we stand together, their evil plans will fail. Your gift to AFA Action allows us to stay vigilant against their onslaught. And if you give this month, you'll receive access to the Cultural Institute video When Your Faith is Illegal by Frank Harbor on AFA Stream as our thanks. You can make your gift today at afaaction.net. Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's Issues. We got 24 and a half more minutes left on the show today. Thanks for listening. I'm Tim with Wesley and Ray. And joining us now in studio is Steve Paisley. Good morning, Brother Steve.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Well, what's happening, Steve?
Let me just get to two really quickly breaking things.
Okay.
There's someone fired some shots at the U.S. consulate in Toronto, Canada overnight. No one was hurt. They're looking for suspects. They don't have a whole lot of leads with all the ring cams going around. I'm sure they'll find some way to track down some people. But just so you know, it happened. Someone's firing shots at the U.S. consulate. And then I've got a declaration, kind of independence from Iran's the state of Iran, the district in Iran that contains Iran's largest oil field. It's a very influential district. It's in the southwest part of the country. It's right next to Kuwait. It borders on the port, the Arabian Sea there, and it's called Khuzestan is the name of the place, and they sent a message, and what their message is: we call for the complete overthrow of the Islamic Republic and establishment of a secular democratic government, unity for all Iranians. They want cultural diversity, and then they support Reza Pahlavi's leadership. So within Iran, this is be like a state within Iran saying we want out of the mullahs. So that might be something significant down the road. I just thought to bring it to your attention.
They've officially made that announcement?
They did. They wrote it in a... They wrote it in. I studied Farsi for 10 minutes, so I could know. This is this is really kind of cool. I took this picture. This is a picture in Arabic, in Farsi. I loaded it under ChatGPT and I said, translate this. And it didn't take a minute, and I had a complete translation. Yep.
How did you hold it? How did you do that?
I took a picture. I took a picture, a
Okay,
copy of the
took
picture.
a picture of the
document.
Okay.
An official document. They're saying we want out.
I pasted it into ChatGPT and say,
Wow.
please translate. Bam.
Wow. You know how to do that, Ray?
That's two
You know how to do what Steve did?
Yeah, and I've done that kind of thing myself. And I'm like, okay, how do you pronounce the name of that state?
Khuzestan.
And it's down by, it's next to Kuwait.
It is.
Close to it, right?
Yes.
Okay, and it's on the Persian Gulf. It's pretty big.
And it's a main port. It's got the largest oil field in all of Iran. So it's a pretty significant, important
that's
state.
a breakaway state.
Yeah. Yeah, we
that's
kind of wonder
interesting.
who's going to come within Iran.
That's
to
a start.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing is stand. The word the word, if it's a word, STAN's got to mean something like country or land, huh? Because I mean, we got what? We got 27 stands over there.
Right. Pakistan, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan.
Yeah.
Keep going, Ray. You're doing good. How many stands you got there?
Oh, there's one. Kyrgyzstan.
Kurdistan? Is that an
Kyrgyzstan.
official country?
Kyrgyzstan, that's over by China. Yeah.
So we got the stands over there. But there is a whole bunch of them bunched up right there.
Yeah.
Steve, let me ask you.
Yes.
Are in that pronouncement, which is huge, they said they wanted Reza Pahlavi?
Yes.
Okay,
That's who they're
he's the
supporting.
son. He's the son of the former Shah.
He is the son of the former Shah of Iran, and they say we support him as a unifying figure among national forces.
He's on Fox News all the time.
His role can help create broad cooperation among political groups to pass through this historic stage. And by the way, Stan, S-T-A-N, it is a Persian suffix meaning country of or land of.
So I was right on that.
Good job.
Yes,
Good
you
job,
were.
Tim.
Oh, really? I just know these things. I don't know.
But it could also mean. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's a gift. It's a gift.
One other thing, Steve, about
Yes, sir.
this. this is how regime change could start.
Yeah.
Well, we've been wondering. It's kind of not easy, but we've successfully decapitated the current regime down, according to Donald Trump, within a couple, like 2 or 3 levels deep. But we're not putting boots on the ground. We're not going to do the Iraq thing where we go in and we pick a government and we try to get them started. How they resolve this now is up to them. But this is a start. At least it's somebody that's stepping up and saying, okay, here's a plan.
You know, the best case scenario, well, I don't know if there's a best case. This is so volatile that, I mean, I'm expecting maybe a civil war at some point where the people start to get armed and they start fighting the military and the police, which are representative of the Islamic regime there.
Mm-hmm.
So they start fighting it out in the streets, perhaps, or the members of the military and or police start turning on the Ayatollah and his henchmen. They are his henchmen. The people that surround him, and that takes somebody's got to be the first one.
Yeah,
and that first one is Ray is going to risk
everything.
Risk getting their head chopped off.
The timing's obviously not great either, because they tried that about a month and a half ago, but they didn't have this type.
They got to have guns, though.
Yep, that's right.
That's why, looking back at our founding fathers and the Second Amendment, that holds true even today. That is that you have to have if the citizens are unarmed, then they're vulnerable to tyranny because those who have the guns and the weapons will suppress them. So that's what our founders knew that. So you need people in Iran. They don't have guns themselves.
That's right.
The average person
they've been taken away.
Right. So maybe they'll somehow get them and some kind of militia war. I don't know. Hate to see a bloody civil war, but at the same time, it may come to that if the people can't.
The timing of this is, Wesley, as you said, it's very crucial. It's a critical matter. There is no way a province, is it a province or a state? What's the right word?
I think province would be the best.
Stand, Ray.
It's a stand. It's country.
Okay, we'll say province. There's no way this province, which is crucial, you said it has the biggest oil field. There's no way 6 months ago they would have done this.
Right.
Because they would have been absolutely crushed by the forces in Tehran. The only way they could dare to do this is because they know there's been a decapitation and they don't think Tehran can crush them now.
They're not capable of doing that right now. Okay, we also got this fake dentist story.
Oh, okay.
Which I wanted to get to.
Yes.
So I think this is a cautionary tale, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
For you to pay attention to if you ever go to a dentist. Go ahead, Steve.
All right. So we are in New Jersey. A woman was arrested for performing dental work without a license. And what's even worse, this is kind of the stuff of nightmares. So this guy pays $1,000 for a procedure.
Yeah.
And the lady's name is Anna Amato.
Yeah, Anna. Okay.
He saw her advertised on What's Up, and so he brings the $1,000, and she's going to do a root canal. Now, if you know what that is, that's where they take the tooth out and they dig down around, and
that's all we need to know, Steve.
They take the nerve out.
I've had a bunch of them. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so
it's a pretty serious surgery.
It's a very serious surgery.
Nothing good can happen now.
No.
Okay, so we got a man goes in
thinking he's going to a regular dentist, right?
So we got a rabbi, a preacher, and go into a dentist office.
It sounds like.
No, this is a serious story.
Yeah, so this is a true story. Anyway.
A true story. Guy.
So he arrives on September 22nd to her office.
Needs a root canal.
She injected his gum with anesthetic.
She doesn't have a license, but he doesn't know this.
No. Then she starts drilling the tooth.
Oh, wow.
And she said the article here from New York Post says then she drilled his tooth and started the procedure before abruptly stopping.
Yeah.
And telling the man to return later in the week. And then before he went back to have the procedure completed, Amato informed him she couldn't finish the procedure and gave him a list of dentists who could complete her work. She's been arrested for faking a dentist.
Yeah, she was arrested for being a fake dentist.
Okay, so I don't want to mess up the fun here. Y'all finish up laughing. I got some questions.
Okay, well, no.
Go ahead.
I hate Robin.
It's funny if it's not you.
Yeah, I hate Robin.
In the dental chair.
This is supposed to be a
Go
funny
ahead.
story.
Ask your serious question.
How is it that, where was this? Is this a building or is this at her house? Like, usually
it's in New Jersey.
Yeah, but you usually go to a dentist's office and there's accountability because you've got to check in at the front.
She had an office.
She had an office.
He arrived at her office in South River, New Jersey.
Right. So she has a real office. She got a real office. She's got a sign out front. And
you got a secretary too that checks in.
A dental assistant who does all the work. Probably.
How does this happen?
How does this happen? That's what we all want to know.
The Post.
But the poor fella, he thought he probably doesn't go to the dentist at all. He's probably having a toothache. He goes and she says, "You're gonna have to have a root canal." And then she gets halfway done with it, and of course she doesn't even know what she's doing.
Yeah.
And she says, "Come back next week."
The Post says Amato was not licensed to practice dentistry. A growing problem with ads on social media. Oh, wow!
I don't like that.
So you're telling me fake dentist is a growing problem?
That's what the Post says. Yes.
We got fake news.
Right.
We got fake dentists.
All right.
Yikes.
Yeah. All right. It's
she got.
You made the look on his face when he was told, "We're going to finish this up next week."
Oh man!
But she like y'all.
He's okay.
Yeah, he's okay. She got arrested.
Just found a real dentist.
Yeah, he's suing her.
But she was arrested.
She was. You can't drill into somebody's mouth without a license.
She got her money. He got his money back there, right?
Huh? I guess he paid.
Paid her $1,000, didn't he?
When a man returned to the office to retrieve his $300 down, she refused, and that's when they called the cops.
Well, she did half a root canal. I wouldn't give his money back either. I mean, you got what you paid for. You didn't ask me. You didn't ask me whether I had a license or not.
Right. That's right. You didn't raise that question.
You'd asked me. I'd have told you. No, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I do read Google.
Yeah, I do.
About
a couple YouTube videos.
I watch YouTube
I
videos.
watch videos, right?
Yeah.
I slept last night in the Holiday Inn
DIY,
Express, right?
DIY, do it yourself.
DIY dentistry. Oh my goodness!
Just be careful when you go to New
be
Jersey.
Easy out there.
If you ever go to New Jersey and you do dental work, you better do your homework.
No kidding.
All right. You're listening to today's issues on American Family Radio. Next story, Steve.
All right, I want to update you on what's going on in New York City. You may remember we talked about this yesterday. There was a protest being held outside of Zoran Mamdani's mayor's mansion. And it was two people threw IEDs, improvised explosive devices. These were bombs. The same kind of thing that they put on the roadside that got a bunch of our troops in Iraq during the war. They threw these things at the protesters. The protest was about protesting public prayers in New York City, and it was led by a gentleman named Jake Lang, who has been described as white supremacist. I don't know that for sure. I know he was connected with the J6. Anyway, the counter-protesters showed up, so Emir Balat and Ibrahim Kayumi were arrested. Let me just play you really quick. This is New York.
Okay, before you do that, can I reset this for just a minute? Not that you didn't do a good job here, because it gets kind of confusing. Yeah. I want people to understand what's going on here. You have the mayor's residence in New York City. You have a handful of people that are demonstrating and having some kind of a protest out in front of the mayor's house. These people are protesting the Muslim prayers being allowed, right?
Loud over the speakers.
Over loudspeakers. Right. They're protesting in front of the mayor's house the Muslim prayers being allowed on loudspeakers across, I guess, New York City. And so two other people come in, not a part of that protest. They're there to do harm to those who are having their rally, right?
They're peaceful.
So they throw an IEDs, and they are meant to blow up and kill people.
Exactly what they're doing.
Right?
Yes.
And so, so pick it up right there.
All right. So they were arrested, and Jessica Tisch, who's the New York Police Department commissioner, is talking about their identity with the terror group ISIS. Let's listen to Cut 8.
After waiving his rights, he requested paper and wrote a message declaring in part, I pledge my allegiance to the Islamic State. Die in your rage, you kuffar. Now, die in your rage is a commonly known ISIS slogan, and kuffar is an Arabic term that refers to non-believers. He also told investigators that he had hoped to carry out an attack even bigger than the Boston Marathon bombing, which he noted resulted in only 3 deaths.
Well, the outrage...
So we don't have to wonder the motive here.
Well, we don't, but here's the outrage. Mayor Mamdani came out with a statement immediately condemning Jake Lang and the protesters, calling them Islamophobic, calling them white supremacists, calling them evil, and they shouldn't be doing this. And then he kind of haphazardly denounces the violence. Didn't certainly say what side the violence was coming from, and he definitely never identified them as being terrorists identified with ISIS.
Yeah, but he did later, didn't he? Or did he not?
I don't know if he's ever come out with the terrorism label. I'd have to look. But
what
he has denounced the violence itself.
I hadn't seen the video of this yet, or if there is a video. What kept them from getting shot by the police if you're throwing bombs?
Well, they
got okay,
arrested.
Some kind of, I don't know, Ray, do you understand more about this story? Is about how they planted these IEDs, or did they just toss them out there?
It sounded like the second thing, like they just tossed them out there.
Okay, they didn't detonate though.
No.
Thank God they didn't detonate. But they said these 2 teenagers who were caught, who were ISIS sympathizers, said they wanted to do more harm than what happened at the Boston Marathon.
Right.
In the name of Allah.
Yep.
In the name of Islamic supremacy.
Correct.
Which is ironic because the mayor came out and condemned white supremacists.
Yes, he did.
Which, by the way, the guy who was protesting the Muslim prayers over the loudspeakers, is he even claim that he's motivated by white supremacy?
No.
It's just like any white person that commits that protests anything is already just labeled a white supremacist without any evidence to support it.
I have seen a statement from him saying that he would like to deputize the Proud Boys, and so he's associated himself with some questionable right-wing people. I don't know that,
I would just say this: even if somebody's right-wing, which I'm right-wing,
right?
If you want to say my politics, but I'm not a white supremacist.
No.
So I don't think everybody who's a right-winger is a white supremacist. I think that's the tag that the left-wing media and others want to put on people like us to discredit us among the general population. Oh, that's what Trump's called. He's a white supremacist. Well, okay, you can criticize Trump and others if you want to for their politics. That's fine. It's America. But don't put a label on them that's not provable and not true. It's an easy thing to do. Just just call them a white supremacist and be done with it. That's all you need to do. So instead of criticizing their politics and use reason, you just say, oh, they're white supremacists. So dismiss them. So, go ahead.
So I'm looking at the video now. I found it now. It's a small portion of the entire incident, but the gentleman the terrorist, he lights the bomb on the edge of the sidewalk and then runs toward the crowd of police officers. And it did not go off, thankfully. Otherwise, there would have been a lot of people injured or even possibly killed, obviously. And so, I don't know. I just think I'm just.
They arrested those guys. They've been charged.
Yeah, they arrested them. But if you're running around with the bomb, you should get shot. I think.
Well,
that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
The video looks like they're in a fairly crowded area. They're throwing it over people, and so I don't know that there was.
It may have
a
happened
shot.
so quick the cops didn't know what was going on exactly.
Yeah.
You know, they made and it may not even look like a bomb. You know what I'm saying?
And what I'm implying, by the way, and then we can move on. I'm implying that when you get into these larger cities with more anti-police, you start getting softer reactions to things because they don't want to get in trouble, and that's what I'm implying. That's just my opinion on that, and I think.
Right. And you're sticking to it?
Sticking to it.
Okay. You're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Tim, Wesley, Steve, and Ray. Go ahead, Steve.
All right. I think we've found the bottom for one of a former Christian commentator named David French, who in his day was a very solid, good thinker. I talked to Jenna Ellis this morning. She said she would have him on her original podcast often, but when Donald Trump got elected, he something clicked in his brain, and he got taken with Trump derangement syndrome. He is a New York Times columnist because once he came out against Donald Trump, the New York Times was more than happy to welcome him. And he wrote an opinion piece called James Tallarico is a Christian X-ray, where he says the following. He says, Tallarico is a political... let me give this... Here it is. Tallarico is one of the few openly Christian politicians in the United States who acts like a Christian, and by acting like a Christian reveals a profound contrast with so many members of the MAGA Christian movement that's dominated American politics for 10 years. So this Christian, David French, who claims the name of Christ, is identifying himself with James Tallarico. I want you to hear a little bit about what James Tallarico believes.
Who is he, for those who don't know?
Thank you. James Tallarico is the Democrat candidate for Senate in Texas.
Right.
He won his primary there last week, and he is running for the Texas Senate, but he often leads with his faith, which is a very, let's say, heretical faith, we would say. Let's listen to what he has to say, cut 15.
I believe Christianity points to the truth. I also think other religions of love point to the same truth.
There are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6. God is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary.
All right, David French.
So David French is commending this guy?
Oh, he's the most Christian of all of. He's certainly not MAGA.
How many? He said something about 6.
6 genders. I don't know what they are.
But who has 6 genders?
There exist 6 genders humans. In biology. Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Ray,
the guy's a heretic. I mean,
that's what it is. Thank you, Ray.
The guy, Tallarico, is a heretic. Now, understand, he's well-spoken.
That's right.
He got his education at a liberal Presbyterian seminary. So he says the kind of things that mushy-minded people find attractive. David French at one point we all thought he was extremely conservative, but
right.
now if you want to talk about TDS, he's got it. I mean, really got it bad.
Yeah,
it's James Carville without the profanity and the anger.
That's right.
Yeah, and there was that 2 to 3 year window there, leading up to Trump's first term, and then the year or two after. There was a lot of confusion amongst the Christian conservative evangelical movement about what to do and all that, and David French caused a lot of division there, and during that time period, and then he had a decent history leading up to that, and so now at this point, we're years after this, and it's evident that David French continues to do stuff like this, and it's a problem.
Tell you what, you got to watch those French people.
Just a general principle.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right, we're out of time. We thank you for yours.
For me, that's probably a good thing. I was about to get worked up.
You about to get us in trouble?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, Steve.
My pleasure.
Thanks to Wesley and Ray. Ray, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Fred was here. Fred Jackson, Brent Creeley, Cole Green, and Dr. Frank Turek. was on the show today. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day. Keep listening to AFR.